Hi, everyone, and welcome to weeks 9 and 10. I hope you had a nice little break in week 8 and are now ready to get back to work. And pretty soon we'll be finished up with the course, okay? So this week we continue to work on treatment of trauma. And so let's start with the learning resources. Here we have a couple of articles and some chapters. So the Bryant Davis and Ocampo article is something that you need to read for the journal. You're only going to focus on that in the journal for this that's due in week 10. We needed to add something about groups into the course, and so I was asked to submit my article from 2004 about individual and group counseling, working with people who have disabilities and often have a great deal of trauma in their history. And then chapter 8, The Raven, is all about a young woman who you will focus on in the discussion in week 10. This week you're doing therapeutic approaches. I'll go over that in just a minute, though. And then Rothschild and van der Kolk add some more information about treating trauma, and you'll use that as a resource also for the discussion this week. And then we have a PowerPoint by Tommy Thoreau, who was really quite a gifted therapy, a psychology, biofeedback therapist. He's still around. He's just not at Widener anymore. And so he created this PowerPoint about breathing, which is quite helpful. And we need breathing because breathing is one of those techniques that happens to help our parasympathetic nervous system. And most of the time when we're working with somebody who's really having a lot of difficulty, they have a big trauma history, it's because they're in a sympathetic response mode. They feel like they're in danger all the time. Even though they're not cognitively thinking about danger, they will respond or react in such a way that they do things that keep people away. They will repeat patterns of their own trauma. And one of the reasons why their sympathetic nervous system does not get turned off is because their parasympathetic nervous system is in one of a few different states. One, it might just be completely overwhelmed by the sympathetic response and cannot respond the way that it should, or it might. Two, it might be offline for another reason. Three, it might be that the person's never really developed their parasympathetic nervous system, which is why those technique demonstrations are so very important, as is talking about breathing and things like yoga and walking and eating good food. Those are all things that can help develop our parasympathetic nervous system. So there's some balance. We need our sympathetic nervous system sometimes to get us activated. In certain situations, we need it to be able to respond. And then when we're out of that situation, we need our parasympathetic nervous system to jump in and calm this down. Okay? All right, so let's see what's next. Don't forget, whoever is uploading technique demonstrations this week, you need to do that in 2 places. One is in the submit technique demonstration for grading. That's actually in the above all of the modules. There's a place that's specific for this, and also in the discussion. So here is the discussion. Everybody who is submitting a technique demonstration will come here, hit reply, and then put their demonstration here so that everybody can see it. Make sure you do that in both places. And then everybody will reply to all of the technique demonstrations that are presented. If you want to know who's presenting, you can go back to the announcements. There's an announcement with a list of all the people that are presenting in week 9. That would be true too, just in case you forget which one is your week. And this is due by Thursday. The technique demonstration needs to be uploaded by Thursday, and then everybody responds by Sunday. Now, let's say somebody uploads their technique demonstration early, like Monday or Tuesday, then you are welcome to respond to them anytime. So you could respond on Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever you choose, up until Sunday. It's just the discussions that we want you to restrict your responses to between Thursday and Sunday. So here is the discussion. And this week you're focusing on the raven. And we are talking about therapeutic approaches in 3 different dimensions. So individually, what would be some of the approaches that you would use to support the young woman in the raven? What, based on their micro impact, what would be some of the ways that you would support them to be in a group at the meso level? And then go back, if you need to the very first discussion in this series of 4 and look at what you wrote or somebody else wrote. We'll give you some ideas about macro. And then talk about what your macro treatment or interventions or approaches might be. So we're looking for things that Rothschild and van der Kolk might talk about, but there might be some also non-traditional approaches that you would want to take with this young woman. So 3 references. They must be the 3 course textbooks: van der Kolk, Rothschild, Perry, and Salzwitz. And then you will make a reply, one reply to somebody, as you have been doing. Okay. And then finally, the journal. This journal is specifically focused on that one article. You do not need to talk about any of the other reading. You'll do that again in the last journal. The questions are exactly the same. How did this material change or highlight something about yourself? How did it highlight or change your view of something about other people? Specifically people who have been traumatized, though. And then how could you take what you learned and put it into practice? So 1/2 to 3/4 of a page, 1/2 to 3/4 of a page, 1 to 1.5 pages for this part. Okay, if you have questions, please ask me. And that's it for the next 2 weeks. And I will see you in the course. Thank you so much. Bye.